Hey guys, hope everybody's doing all right today. And yeah, I've got glasses on right now because I have had a lazy day due to yesterday I was at a theme park all day. Yeah, with my job, my work, and so we were in the theme park all day, and it was just fun, awesome, crazy day, and just needed a down day. Sometimes we all need that, right? So going back to um, going back to the where I left off last time. So uh, things were crazy at one point, right? And uh, I was recovering from all the stuff with the diet pill with ephedrine in it, and really getting things straight, getting my life straight, and in terms of getting on a healthy path. So what ended up happening is that I don't, while I was trying to do that and on that, unfortunately, a lot of people really had given up on me, and I ended up being homeless for a good while, in and out of temporary living situations in people's homes, and from church and this place and that place, and finding temporary places to live off of Craigslist, and even living in my car for 6 months. So spent a little bit of time being homeless, and finally was able to get into Section 8 housing. And so once I did that, once I was, had a stable place to live, um, I don't know who it was, whether it was my counselor, because I was seeing a counselor this whole time. I don't know if it was my counselor or somebody else from church or somebody else that I had come in contact with, but somebody suggested, sorry, excuse me, I gotta pick something up, suggested that I get in touch with a homeopathic practitioner, and I did so. And she ended up, this homeopathic practitioner ended up changing my life for the better. Because even before the mental health stuff, that was actual mental health stuff, with the um, hydroxy, hydroxy, hydroxycut, excuse me, and ephedrine. Um, the I had real serious medical stuff that a lot of people couldn't understand or diagnose or whatever, and so I get to this homeopathic practitioner, and she does a couple things and says, "You have adrenal fatigue," and I was like, "What? What is that?" So obviously we have adrenals, and I was like, "Okay." So then she just had me do a couple things, did a couple tests on me, and said, "Okay, so these are the dietary supplements and vitamins that work for you and your body right now, and this will help you." Started getting on those, and within 6 months, I felt like a human. And when I say that, I mean that I felt like I had energy for the first time in my life. I felt like I could mentally do the things that I grasp and do the things that I never could. Even with like academia and things like that. Like I was a completely different person. So which tells you I was, dealing with adrenal fatigue. And interestingly enough, it's only really a lot of times only the homeopathic community that recognizes adrenal fatigue. So, that if you're somebody that is struggling, and you don't know what's going on, you don't have a lot of energy, and doctors are telling you it's depression or this or that, and in your heart it's not that. Maybe check that out. Check out a natural practitioner, holistic stuff, and not all. And that started my journey of really understanding Western medicine and how really messed up it is. But anyway, that's a side note. But all that to say, really had some good stuff come from that. And within 6 months, I felt like I could jump back in and maybe pass this algebra. So I did. When I went back to school, just one class, and that was the algebra, and I passed. And in so doing, with passing that one class, I graduated with my associate's degree because all my other classes had been taken. This was 2006. Summer 2006, I graduated with that associate's and continued on. Moved from Section 8 to on-campus older student housing, and went back to school full-time at Trevecca, where I originally started. Met some great friends. Actually had a boyfriend there who was just an amazing, good guy. At the end, it didn't work out mutually, and we're still, he's married, and so married now, and so we don't really talk, but if we pass each other, it would be a positive thing. So that was the first guy that I really had a positive relationship with, and a positive breakup, right? And that was good. That was a healing moment for me, back from when the guy that never was interested in me, but he wanted to be my best friend, sister friend, whatever the hell. I don't know. That was fucked up. But anyway, all that to say, yeah, it was good. Good times, and, like I said, I'm the most resilient motherfucker I've ever known. And so hung in and graduated, really did my best to really do well. And because of everything I went through, hi Gracie, she's just licking me on my leg. Everything I went through was like, I really want to do social work. I want to go to get my master's in counseling. So that was kind of the focus at that point in life. Yeah, so I think, great, hang on one second. Gracie, do you need to go out, sweetie? I think she might need to go out. But anyway, so going to get that. And so finishing school and moving on. Like that was the goal. Met some amazing friends. And hang on, it's going to be dark in a second, sorry. But made some great friends, that I have to this day, when I went back to school. And it was fantastic. Sorry, guys. Gotta help the doggo out. But yeah, made some fantastic friends, amazing friends. And, it was a good time. Some people would say that might be weird because, I was 10 years older than a lot of my friends. But because my 20s were lost, I tell people all the time, the reality is, for me, is that my 20s were lost. With all the ephedra stuff and school and all that stuff, my 20s were robbed from me. And so it wasn't until I was 30 years old that I really felt like I was gaining, jump on up, you're good, gaining momentum in life. And so at 31, I graduated from college in 2009. And that was an amazing victory for me, and an FU to algebra. But unfortunately, because when I was younger, I didn't take school very seriously. I tried, but I didn't. And hey, Gracie, you're a good girl. But yeah, I didn't. And things were there was a lot going on. But anyway, all that to say, my GPA was a 2.43, and for somebody that wanted to go to graduate school, that's too low even to get on probation. And so I was fucked. And I did grad school trips here and there. And I really wanted to go get my master's in counseling, as well as women's ministry. And I wanted to go, be a women's ministry director, for women to be able to have those questions and ask those questions that I never was able to, and give that space for women in the church that I was never given. And sadly, because of the gossip, and I wasn't able to get into those schools because I did not want to go to a non-Christian school, and I wanted to get that ministry aspect. You have to go to a seminary. Not one seminary really gave me hope, and it was just platitudes. But, and it really kind of sort of, again, I was trying to still work through. I hadn't left the church officially. I was going a little here and there. I think more than anything, and I realized within the church community, he's very controversial. But I did stop going to the church while I was still trying to work through everything. And I started listening to sermons. Excuse me. It's a dry throat. I'm fine, guys. But all that to say, I really couldn't go back to the church. Like, it was just, walking in the building was just too tough. But looking for sermons online, I found a lot that I started really digging into online just to try to figure stuff out myself. But I got into Mark Driscoll. And again, Mark Driscoll is somebody within the church subculture and community, very controversial. But I'll tell you, he spoke the language that I needed to hear. Driscoll is teaching now and preaching, and moved his church he has a new church in Arizona, but back then he was in Seattle, Washington, and he had the personality I needed and the style of preaching and teaching that I needed at that point in my life. And like, his style just really fits me. But all that to say, I really started getting into to Acts 29 churches and stuff like that, and just really digging into different stuff. And once I graduated, actually, I moved to St. Louis, Missouri, because there was a seminary that I wanted to go to there. Didn't work out, but there was, and it wasn't on purpose, but found another Acts 29 church, and the pastor happened to be the vice president of Acts 29. And which is, if you don't know what when I'm talking about this language, if it's foreign to you, basically it's another denomination type thing. Like, you think about Baptist church being a denomination, or the Catholic Church being a denomination, or Methodist. So Acts 29 was its own, they call it a church planting network. So it was just a bunch of churches that fell under that umbrella. But having said that, the pastor, Darren Patrick, happened to be somebody that also, just like Mark Driscoll, his teaching and preaching were exactly what I needed in that moment. And if it weren't for Darren's teaching, I would have left the church. I would have been gone. And so, Mark Driscoll and Darren Patrick are huge in just, giving me space to continue to learn and grow and meet people, meet friends, and have that safe place, if you will. But yeah, that's where I'm going to leave it there. And, next vlog, we'll talk a little bit more about what happened from there, and ultimately what caused me to ultimately feel like I couldn't, I was on the verge of, not just on the verge, I kind of was already going, is this God really have a real personal relationship with me, or is this, I don't know. To me, I just, like, at that point of, I don't know what's going on. I just know for me, it's very difficult. So, in terms of what made me ultimately say, I'm done. I can't walk into the church anymore. I can't listen to anymore. Honestly, until somewhat recently, I had even a hard time vocalizing what's going on, because other than saying I've lost faith in God and the church, I couldn't vocalize the story. I couldn't vocalize it all. That's how deep and painful it is. Guys, here's the reality is that, your relationship with the church a lot of times does have a direct impact on how you view God. And whether you liked it or not, whether you like it or not, that's a reality, is that it's hard to go to church when your relationship with people in the church are damaged or failed, and there's no really way to, and I know I'm going longer than I really want to. I wanted to keep it a lot shorter than this, but the reality is that some people have said, oh, well, you're trusting in man more than God. And I just went, you know what? At the end of the day, you can't solely rely on God. So, and there is accountability. And so there's a lot to that to unpack. There's a lot to that to unpack. And I know I just gave a couple things, but I do think that's a wussy way out. Not for those individuals that have nothing to do with the situation, but for the people that are a part of the situation, that were a part of the situation directly. I feel like there's a lack of accountability, lack of, there's just a lot there. Anyway, but let me end it there, guys, and we'll talk more about, another season of up and down, and ultimately how I got to, where I've been really in a good place. And so we'll get there. and ultimately, guys, what I want to do is tell my story and invite you to kind of sort of, if you want to have a conversation, let's do it. And, I am a life coach now. So I am in a good place, an amazing place. And so I'd love to, if anybody is looking out for coaching, going, man, I understand your story. I understand what you've gone through. And, you're also somebody. So let me remind everybody that life coaches are not counselors. Just like I'm going back into my past, life coaches don't go into your past. What we say is, where are you at now and where do you want to be, and let's help you get there. And ultimately, and I keep saying ultimately, but that, anyway, it is what it is. But what helped me most when I was at that place is I was tired of talking about my story. I was absolutely tired of it. If I had to talk about my journey, my story one more time, I was going to puke. I'm tired of it being about me. Me. No, fuck that. I want to get further. If I have to go talk about my story one more time to a counselor, I'm going to throw the fuck up. So I wanted to get somewhere in life and move forward. And I lacked some of the knowledge and skills. And until I was given those, I couldn't move on. So if you need to move on, if you don't want to, if you're tired of talking about your story, talking about your past, and you want to move on, contact me. My contact information is in the description. Love to talk to you. All right, bye.